Astroneer is one of my most popular videos, and people have been harassing me for months to go back and check in on the game because the automation update allegedly changed enough to justify taking another look. And since I killed my channel by not uploading for a month, I figured now probably might be a good time to give the people what they want. This video is going to be a little bit different from my normal videos because I'm just looking at an update to the game. If you want a full review of Astroneer as a whole, you should probably go back and watch my original review. Making this video, I didn't want to do the hack move of just opening up the game's creative mode and doing a lame explanation of what each item does without context. So instead, I decided I would just start a whole new game and see how all the new stuff affected the game's standard gameplay and progression in real time. Also, I wanted to start a new game anyway because I really like Astroneer a lot. The automation update is incredible because it basically multiplied the build potential of the game by 10 just by adding 4 pretty simple things. The resource canister, which comes in 2 sizes, the auto arm, the auto extractor, and logic circuits. I'll go over all of this stuff individually and sort of break down exactly how it changed the game at a base level and how it all works. Quick interruption. I just found out while editing this video that there was a second automation update which added a couple more things that I didn't really have time to feature more prominently in this video. I did a quick read through the patch notes and it looks like the important ones are these hoop platforms that work as motion sensors and a couple more logic switches. There are also a lot of quality of life changes and some tweaks to how machines work. Basically, the only thing I would have added to this video if I would have had time to go over this update in more detail probably would have been using the motion sensors to incorporate vehicles and builds. But in terms of the basics of how the automation systems work and how it impacts gameplay, I think this video is still pretty solid. Anyway, back to your regularly scheduled script. Let's start out with the resource canisters. As you can see, the resource canister is a canister that holds resources. Not much going on here, but they are extremely useful. First of all, now that the game has these canisters, there's no need to build absurd storage systems like this that require you to individually store every container of space goo you collect. Now you can just dump it into a resource canister, which fits neatly into a significantly smaller space. Even without messing around with the rest of the automation stuff, the medium canisters basically completely changed how collecting materials manually works. They can be carried by the player and easily moved around on vehicles, so pretty much from the second you can make them, you're going to be carrying them around with you into caves or driving around with them to mass collect resources. On their own, the resource canisters were basically a gigantic quality of life change that made the game a lot less tedious and makes bases a lot better to look at. Overall, an excellent addition to the game, and I'll show you how they work in the context of the automation system here in a minute. Next up are the auto arms. Like the name would suggest, they are used specifically for automation. They do what you think an arm would do, they grab and they move. Auto arms didn't change the actual core gameplay very much, and it would easily be possible to play through the game in a sort of analog way and never even need to build them to begin with. A lot of the game's basic automation can be achieved just by using the crude automation mechanics like how resources will automatically move to storage once they are complete in a furnace. This kind of goes back to the entire automation system being optional, which I'll also loop back around on soon. The real genius of the auto arms is you can fill this slot on the arm, and the arm will then filter out only those items, so you can build sorting machines to sort your items automatically later in the game, which leads to some pretty crazy automation potential. Overall, auto arms only really matter if you choose to actually go for automation building, which kind of depends on the playstyle you want. Auto extractors are kind of an interesting item in the context of changing the way the game progresses because they have pros and cons. The way they work is, you set them down on a resource deposit, power them, and they automatically remove the resource slowly over time, and will even automatically fill a medium canister if it's placed on top. This process seems slow and it'll take somewhere around 30 minutes to fill a canister, which might seem bad because you can probably fill about 4 canisters in that same amount of time just by manually dragging them down into a cave. But auto extractors allow you to basically be in multiple places at once, which makes them extremely useful for single player games, and they also pull out 15 times more material than you would usually get, meaning that you can get significantly more value out of important resources like ammonium, for example. I would say that if you're playing multiplayer, auto extractors seem like a little overkill. We only had 3 of them set up in our game, one for ammonium, one for quartz, and one for graphite, and it seemed like we had an abundance of all other materials, to the point where setting up auto extractors didn't really seem like a must. That being said, the point of this game is to play it in a way you find fun, so if you want to make it your goal to literally only mine with auto extractors, you have that right as a human guaranteed to you by the Constitution of this United States. Plus, if you never use them, you never get to experience the extremely awesome sound design. Finally, we have the logic circuits. I'm not going to go into these in a lot of detail because they're pretty self-explanatory and there are already like 55,000 tutorials online already. The repeater switch basically gives you an on-off button. The storage switch detects if storage is full or empty. The battery sensor detects if a battery has a charge. And the power sensor detects if the power is on or off, and they all send out a signal based on these parameters. If you're familiar with how redstone works in Minecraft, you probably already see where this is going. I was able to make some pretty wild automatic builds without logic switches though, and that's what I'm about to show off. In my playthrough, we ended up building 2 different machines for sorting out all of our items. One that sorted things that needed to be smelted, and one that sorted things that didn't need to be smelted. Roll the clips. Alright, so this is the automatic sorting system that I have set up for everything that doesn't need to be smelted. So, we've got this big pile of shit here in the middle, and the idea is all of these auto arms are filtered for certain items. So, we're just going to pile everything up in the middle here, and then hopefully it should automatically be sorted out. Alright, here we go. And then we have to turn the arms on, I think. Okay. Alright. Okay, that looks like a resounding success, if you ask me. Okay, now here's where things get a little more complicated. So this is the automatic sorting machine for everything that needs to be smelted. So the idea here is these 2 arms pick up everything, load into the smelters. These 2 arms unload the smelters into this central platform. And then the 9 or so surrounding arms are all filtered for specific things, and then they will sort them out into the canisters. This is the real test of my MIT engineering degree. Okay. Hang on, we're not getting enough power. This is going a little bit slower than I want because I don't have enough power to power all these arms, but this is technically working. Both of these builds are using basically the bare minimum and most simplistic parts of the automation system, and they both got pretty good results. I did have to build a hilariously massive power plant, and I did have issues where the arms would stop working and I had to turn them off and turn them back on again like a cable modem, but I'm pretty sure both of these problems would have been fixed if I would have used logic gates to make the build more efficient. This is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of possible builds. You can find a ton of mind-blowing shit people have been building in Astroneer by doing a quick Google search. Basically every machine in the game can be turned into a mass-producing monster now. Astroneer's automation system is sort of similar to Redstone in Minecraft, where in terms of dominant strategy, it doesn't really make sense to manually build a 68-story automatic wheat farm in terms of time management and resources, when you could just build a regular wheat farm a lot more quickly and get all the wheat you'd ever need, but the thrill comes from doing it because you can and not because it makes any real sense. Like climbing a mountain, or hosting a series of illegal boxing matches in the basement of an abandoned hospital in the woods. If you enjoy messing with redstone in Minecraft, solving engineering problems in video games, or hosting illegal prize fights, Astroneer's Automation update should fulfill your needs. Did it completely revolutionize the way the game works from top to bottom like some of my comments implied? Not really, but it did add an insane amount of depth to a game that definitely could have used some more depth. If you still weren't sure that Astroneer had enough content, I hope you're convinced now. I know I have been for a while. Sorry once again for another smaller video, but I got it out on time, so take what you can get, I guess. My next video will be back at it again with another full-length review. If you want to see more videos like this one, consider subscribing. You should also follow me on Twitter so you don't miss any important updates. Also, feel free to use the link in the description to join my Discord and use the fantastic new emotes this man was willing to bestow upon us like the hero he is. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.